Jared with Yellow Van Handyman here today, and today I am going to show you how to repair a Gibson Frigidaire front loader type washing machine that's having rear bearing problems. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to remove the front half of the tank assembly, which is pretty heavy because this is all counterweights. So this is basically all concrete. So just grab a hold of it and lift up and pull it off. Now you'll notice I have this sitting on a stand because the back shaft actually sticks out. And if you look at that, you'll see that I've already removed the main shaft bolt and the drive pulley. And so this mounts on here just like that with this bolt in it. So you just want to remove that bolt, remove the pulley off, and this is the main shaft. And actually one of the bearings that we're going to be replacing, this bearing right here. So in order to get this out, you can, if you lift up on it this way and it pulls out, that's fine. If you have troubles getting it out, just turn it over, set a block of wood on here, and then pound on this shaft, because that shaft needs to come out, but you don't want to damage the shaft by pounding on it. You would just take and put a block of wood here and you would pound on this until it came loose and popped out. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, and it slides right out. The problem with this particular repair is that the only way to repair these bearings is to buy this entire assembly, which costs about $200 plus shipping, and then there's possibly some other things that you have to replace during that repair, which is why this repair is so costly and in many cases cost prohibitive, because it just costs too much to repair a washing machine that simply isn't worth it, which is the reason why I'm doing this video, to show you how to do it so you don't have to replace this. So what we want to do is we actually want to pop these bearings out. There's a bearing here, and there's a seal and a bearing on the inside. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to remove the seal from the inside. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the inside of it here. And that's really pretty simple to do. Okay, so this piece right here is actually the culprit. Now this is a new one, but I'm going to show you the method in which I used to get the old one out. Okay, so the method I use to get this the seal out is just a simple screwdriver, and this is pretty common. You stick the screwdriver in underneath the lip of the seal and you pop it out, and the seal will come out. Maybe not obviously not as easy as this one, but you work your way around and you just pry the seal out. This is essentially garbage, so it doesn't matter if you damage this part. Okay, and also this is actually the part that caused the problem. This is just a rubber seal, and this keeps the water from getting out of the main tank area into the bearing area. And the failure of this part is the reason why we're doing this repair. Now you'll see underneath this that there's a bearing underneath here, roller bearing that goes inside of here, and there's two of those. There's the inside bearing, and then on the back side there is an outside bearing. And what we need to do is we actually need to remove the outside. We're going to remove this one first, okay? And in order to do that, we have to put some blocks of wood under it. So we're going to place some blocks of wood underneath the edge of it, just like this. I'm just demonstrating this here for you this way so you can see how the blocks of wood go. But essentially, we're going to place the blocks of wood on the ground like this, with just enough space for that bearing to be able to pop out in between them. And then we're going to set this on top of there, and we are going to take an extension, the extension that we used to part the tank halves, something like this. You can use many different things, but what we're going to do is we're going to take this extension down through the center here at an angle, and we're going to beat on this bearing all the way around like that, and we're just going to beat on it. Okay? And I'm telling you, you're going to have to beat on this thing really hard, okay, in order to pop it loose. Now the key is you want the bearing to come out straight. You don't want it to get cocked off to one side or the other, okay? So just simply go around and pound on this, and obviously I'm doing it much more gently than what you will, but you're literally going to be, swinging really hard to get this bearing out. Now once that bearing pops out, we're going to flip the tank over, and you're going to lay it again on something solid. Now this bearing will not be here because that's the one that we just took out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take something like this. Now this is an 1 3/8 socket with a 1/2 inch extension, and this is going to slide down through this shaft area, it's going to meet contact with the next bearing, and you're just, I mean, you can take a sledgehammer, you can take a big hammer like this, whatever you want, and just give that thing a couple of raps, and that inside bearing will pop out. Okay, and basically, what I do from that point is I would take a little bit of abrasive paper and clean up the inside of it to make sure that the bearing surfaces are clean. And then what I would do is use a little bit of lubricant and spray it on the inside of there and clean that up, and then set the bearings. You're essentially going to take the bearings, I'll show you one of the old ones here. And in order to get this in here, you just set the bearing where it needs to go, and you can use a block of wood or you can use a rubber type hammer like this, and then you just pound the bearing in. Okay? This type you can just pound just like this, and you pound it all the way in until it's flush. Okay, and then you end up with that. So that's finished, ready to go, it's ready to be reassembled. And then you're going to do the same thing on the inside. Now, I've already set the inside bearing, and it's pounded in place and pressed in place, and for that particular one, you're again going to need to use an extension or something to get the bearing all the way down into place where it goes. Then we're going to install the seal, and the seal uses essentially exactly the same mechanism, and I like to use just a little bit of silicone spray to make sure that the area is well lubricated and ready to accept the new seal, and it's quite easy to assemble it. So we're just going to set a block on there, give it a couple of wraps, and our seal is in. It's really quite simple. You just want to make sure that it's set all the way and you're ready to go, and now we can start reassembly. A couple things I want to point out as we're just wrapping up this video here. I've got the tank, I basically have laid the back half of the tank down, and I've slid the inside of the tank in, and you can see it spins real nicely. It's all set in place. Those new bearings are working great. The other consideration that you want to have when you're reassembling yours is the main tank seal, and this main tank seal is located inside the back half here. And if you see, I'm sticking the screwdriver into it. The gasket looks like it's in really good shape. It wasn't leaking. I had no problems with it when I took it off, so I'm going to go ahead and reuse that, and I don't think that it'll be a problem. The seal is only, I think it's under $20, so it's not a big deal if you want to go ahead and get one. That's the one other consideration. Another thing, as you're going through the reassembly, you'll want to take a look at your belt. And basically the way you analyze the belts is you flip them inside out and kind of make a loop out of them like that, and just look at it and see if there's any cracks or if the belt's dried or anything like that. If it is, then you might want to consider replacing that too. And one other trick that I want to show you for getting these shocks off is a little socket trick. So these shocks are what holds the main tank in. There's two of them on each side, or one on each side, and it's got a little tab on it here that you have to press in order for this to push out. And so what I do with that is I just take a 1/2-inch socket and I jam it on the end of it, and that does two things. One is it depresses that tab, but it also pushes this piece out, and so it can be removed much easier. So just a little quick tip there for removing that, and that's it. Should take you less than a couple hours to do this job. It's not too tough. Don't be intimidated. It's just a matter of taking a few screws out, replacing a few parts, and hopefully this video was helpful. Okay, so that was quick and easy, right? Now I basically showed you how you can replace the bearings, replace the seal, take the machine apart, put the machine back together. You can do this in less than, maybe a couple hours if it's the first time doing something like this. Really simple. Hope this helps. The cool part is that I sourced the seals for you. They're super hard to find. You can't find them at any of the online stores or even local stores or anything like that. So I got a whole case of them, ordered them in. I don't think the manufacturer will even sell them individually, but so it's a special deal. You can order them right here. Just click on the link below. I can also send you the bearings if you want, or I'll just send you the numbers to get the bearings. The bearings are very common. Any local bearing supplier that you have in your area, you can get them from, or I can send them to you either way. And then of course there might be some other parts that you need that you want to consider that I've mentioned throughout the repair of this. So you can do it.